Hello, hello. It's your astrologer friend Kimberly here with the art of astrology. I'm recording this on the 30th of December, just ahead of the new year. And on this episode, we're going to be talking about the full moon in Cancer, which occurs really soon as we enter 2026. So it's, of course, the first full moon of 2026. It's occurring, as I say, in watery zodiac sign Cancer, sign of the crab, sign of nurturing, sign of mothering, and home. It's happening at 13 degrees 1 minute. It is co-present with exalted Jupiter in Cancer at 21 degrees, and it is landing opposite a fair few planets in Capricorn, giving, I want to say, like equal balance and a real seesaw effect at this full moon. So if you're reading my horoscope, my daily horoscope at ELLE UK, or any other astrologer's forecast, or even a little meme online, hopefully everybody's going to really be delivering some gold at this time of year during this full moon, because it is so easy to hit with this analysis of the full moon. The moon is in its domicile sign, and as I say, Jupiter's there exalted in Cancer, giving really big credence, really big acknowledgement to the Cancer house of our horoscope. Very simple to interpret, even for oneself, if you know your rising sign, or if you specifically know what Cancer activates for you in your chart. I'll do the mini videos too. And then opposite, we've got the sun sandwiched by an exalted Mars in Capricorn, Venus in Capricorn, Mercury is there too. Mercury enters Capricorn on the 1st of January. So 2026 is starting with really great big emphasis on Capricorn, on the Capricorn house of the horoscope. And that really does last pretty much throughout the first few weeks of January. I'm going to make also a separate series of videos on that, just really emphasizing how there is this culmination of focused momentum in the earthy Capricorn area of the skies. So, as I say, balance, Capricorn, Cancer, these two areas of life. I mean, if we're looking at the macro themes, just using that notion of home, safety, security, stability, sanctuary, and comfort for Cancer. And then on the other side, we have industry, big business. We have, ambition and mountain crags for Capricorn. So the hard terrain, Saturnian governed landscapes of Capricorn season, which puts us really, in that necessity mindset, because it's cold in the Northern Hemisphere. The world is quite barren. We're not really going to go foraging. I don't know about where you live, but it's freezing cold where I am. It gets really dark really quickly where I am as well. And so, Cancer season being the time of summer solstice in the Northern Hemisphere, winter solstice being this time of, hunkering down and hibernation, you've got those real polar opposites. And so that's why we have to consider during Capricorn season that we are striving, that we are ambitious, that we are considerate of our aspirations and survival skills, is because it's cold, it's hard, it's dark, and the winter feels very long. We have this moment where the moon rises in Cancer. Hopefully, it will look very beautiful, pearly white against the dark night sky, evoking all of these themes. And you might remember when you look at that full moon what I've said. So we can also look in this chart at the fact that all the planets in Capricorn are governed by Saturn in Pisces, which is cozying up to Neptune at the 29th degree of Pisces. This is real end of an era stuff, right? This is really bringing us to that penultimate final breaths of Pisces. And by this time, I mean, I'm still in 2025 now, but, we take the leap over the threshold into the Gregorian 2026 calendar and firmly plant ourselves in the new year, which, although it's newness, also has a flavor of endings And I say that not because I want to drag out 2025, but really because that entry to 2026 gives us space and gives us an opportunity, gives us an invitation to digest those last revelations around what Neptune and Pisces has given, because otherwise I think we'd feel a bit rushed. Sagittarius season has been galloping through lately, and that's a really, you know, spirited time. It's a very visionary time. It's a very exciting time, Sagittarius season. So we've only just, I mean, as I stand, we've still not had that square between Mercury and Neptune. But as we creep into 2026, we're going to get this invitation to dedicate some time and some energy towards those two areas, those two houses of the horoscope. Capricorn, because we've got this glut of planets in Capricorn throughout January. And then these last breaths of Neptune in Pisces and Saturn in Pisces. And I can't wait to see all those lovely Instagram posts, which are kind of consolidating our Pisces journey. I've already seen a few trickle through already, but I really think that, as we have that kind of like finale moment, that kind of curtain call, that real waving, that send off of Neptune in Pisces, it's going to be pretty spectacular. It's almost like the fireworks at the end of a wedding. If you were lucky enough to have a wedding and fireworks, I've been to a wedding where they did have such a display. It was beautiful. And, that being very sparkling, enigmatic, mystical. We're never going to see Neptune in Pisces again in our lifetime, because it takes 248 years for Neptune to transit a full zodiac cycle. So, we're never going to experience this transit again. And I was thinking about it yesterday, about some of the words and inventions that have come up during this spell of Neptune in Pisces. And I really want to find out when fentanyl was invented, fentanyl being that debilitating drug that has just run rife through many different countries. But I think of America when I think of fentanyl, and some of these videos that have shown me the zombies on the street doubled over, and just that quality of the fish, and how the two fish in mythology are swimming in different directions, just this nebulous confusion of the two fish who are also tied together. I won't go into the mythology of it, but you can easily read the story of just these two fish that are just, chaotic, and just how the nature of the last decade plus, so basically since 2012, when Neptune permanently came into Pisces, just all the different things that have really been boundless, AI being the kind of final stamp on that, and just these floodgates that have totally opened around social media posting, and just no boundaries as such on a lot of things. But fentanyl I always think of because it begins with the letter F, fish, fentanyl, fluidity, and now AI as well, and many different things. I was also thinking, sorry, trigger warning. I know I think talk about quite hard-hitting stuff off the cuff, but there was a man that basically had people coming in to rape his wife. Like, I think it was over 50 men got charged in France, with this poor woman who was drugged, held captive in a sleep of hypnotic proportions. This woman was drugged, sent under, and then this mystifying situation happened where this guy, who ended up in prison, of course, for it, thank God, was just, horrific story. But again, this limbo that this woman was held in for over years, and I believe it definitely did sync with that same time. Again, people going into submarines, and these mysterious submarines going missing. We've had cruise ships that have been prominent during COVID, a viral pandemic that flooded so quickly. The floodgates were open with COVID, and so on. So there have been a lot of different things, streaming services as well, like Netflix and Spotify, providing us with endless revolving content, and then the mental health collapsing in of our own personal, mysterious getting lost in the airwaves, right? Don't know about you, but I am terrible when it comes to scrolling. I can just scroll and scroll and scroll, watching these people cleaning and all kinds of random stuff. Definitely seen a lot of house renovation stuff going on, which I kind of attribute to the Jupiter in Cancer. And there's also a really funny one where they're in a village, they're in a jungle in Thailand. I saw it on TikTok. I've only just discovered TikTok. And the little child goes, Mama, Mama. And then the mother comes rushing to her and they do some silly little like the child's some little act happens. But I thought, oh, that's so Jupiter in Cancer, mother and child, and she cries out, Mama, Mama. So I think they're quite parodied as well. Anyway, lots of Jupiter in Cancer themes unfolding. And conversely, another thing I thought about when we had, you know, Pluto going through Cancer was how many of us complain that owning a home is now out of reach. And so Pluto transforming through Capricorn, the opposite sign. So oftentimes when Pluto goes through a house or a sign, the opposite sign is the one that is transformed as well. So Pluto went through Capricorn, which represents industry and big business, but it was affecting how those, areas of life impact Cancer themes as well. So, you know, basically that big fallout when it came to, I think, mortgage providers and so on. And how basically people are now like, well, they'll have no chance of owning a home. And that's been a joke online for many years, where they're like, I'll keep on buying my latte, my daily coffee at the coffee shop because, quite frankly, I don't think I'm going to be able to afford to save up for a mortgage. So, what's the point kind of thing. So there being that double-sided thing. So maybe that will be something that comes up around this full moon as well. The notion of home, the notion of nurturing, the overwhelm of emotions, because Jupiter is the great expander, Cancer is the very, very sensitive crab, which, you don't want to prod because they will come back with snipping claws. But this expansion on lunar moon themes, food, family, how we furnish our interior comforts, psychologically, our interior comfort. Another thing that I've seen a lot of is how there's quite a few counselors or psychologists or kind of just, do-gooders online who are talking about cutting off parents and the dynamic between, I think it's called like adult children who are estranged, basically. It's an estrangement. So that's a really interesting area to look into as well as a topic, perhaps, of research in astrology. I'm not going to do it because I've got too much to research as it is, but could be cool, looking at the people who have actually divorced their parents or child actors who have, separated. I think Macaulay Culkin and so on. Anyway, massive topic, too big. I'm already thinking about Britney now and conservatorships and her transits and so on. But anyway, this might come up with the Cancer full moon. Parents, parenting, heritage, tradition, homes, homesteads, properties, working in the property industry, all these different kinds of thing. Now, when we look at the full moon, it's ruled by that Saturn Neptune in Pisces. As I say, we're going to be going into 2026, rounding off things. Before that Lunar New Year comes, people are talking a lot about the fire horse and how we're galloping into the fire horse, but do consider that we do have to get through January before that energy really takes shape. I'll go through a sign by sign on a separate video, but yeah, Mercury is there in Capricorn's terrain, Venus is there in Capricorn's terrain, the Sun and Mars exalted. So there really is that momentum, that full-fledged energetic push in earthy Capricorn, governed by Saturn in Pisces, tidying things up after that great swell has gushed through that water sign Pisces. And I do think about body positivity and a Zempak as well when I think about Saturn in Pisces. Neptune really was about unleashing women's bodies. You know, Pisces is a feminine sign, even though we don't like to be too feminine, masculine about the polarity between the signs. Capricorn, Pisces, Taurus, Cancer, Virgo, and Scorpio are traditionally feminine signs. And when I think about Neptune through Pisces, and I think about, people wearing fishnet garments and items that just really let it all hang out, and this viral sensation of people on Instagram or social media, championing real bodies. But is real the word for it? Real bodies, or just this, body positivity? Is I prefer the words body positivity because it feels much more generous with the Pisces fluid concept. And then Saturn, as soon as Saturn came in, or I don't know soon, look, we don't know when Ozempic was invented, maybe somebody does, but this Saturnian principle of stripping back and coming and putting in a corset around Neptune. That's how I think of it anyway. I thought about Neptune being this free, liberated fish or mermaid, a very generous, plump mermaid. And then Saturn coming along with the corset tightening around Neptune. So that Ozempic to me was like that, like, oh yeah, here it comes, Saturn, needling behind a little bit. So yes, anyway, I'll also say about Chiron is locked into a square with Jupiter, which has been going on for a long time. I mentioned it in previous videos. So that's just to say that even though we've got this notion of home, even though we've got this, generous amplification of mother, ability to set down roots, to examine our foundations, to acknowledge where we're at in terms of home and housing. Do I have a home? What's the potential that I will own a home? If I don't have a home, what's security for me? What does security look like, sound like, and so on? And given this Neptunian, unshackling over the past decade, what does that mean? I'm thinking about my own Neptunian journey to live abroad with the ninth house transit of Neptune, and how, me having a home or a place to come home to or call home has really not been something that has really, I don't want to say it's not been a priority, it's really not been a possibility. So that to me is a very interesting thing. And then if I think about squaring Chiron, that being kind of like definitely a pain point, I would say, like definitely an uncomfortable wound, because Chiron is, uncomfortable, right? So anyway, contact me for a personal reading if you want to know more about how that is playing out in your personal chart, or shoot me a message if you're an existing client and want clarity. I'm always here. Now let's go on to the examples of the people. And again, I think I said it last time, but it really is fascinating how different people can be with their, combination. So we've got people who are born of a Capricorn sun and a Cancer moon. So we're going to go through them using my old faithful website, Astro Theme. Got a lovely AI. Is it an AI? I've got a lovely woman here who looks very Aries coded. Anyway, first up, we've got Princess Catherine, Princess of Wales, Catherine, born on the 9th of January, 1982. Now, for Catherine, we do have a confirmed ascendant / birth time. I believe it was Natalie Delahaye who has contributed to my website, Star Sign Style, an aromatherapy series. She goes through all the 12 zodiac signs. And she actually did the birth chart for Princess Catherine, Kate Middleton, as we knew her way back when. She did her birth chart for her basically just before those two got married. Those two young kids. They're not young, they're older than me, which means they're old. Anyway, Kate Middleton, let's say, was born with sun at 19 degrees of Capricorn. She's a Leo rising. So this very traditional sun, this very antiquated, Capricorn sun over here in possibly the fifth or the sixth house, depending on this is Placidus system. But if she was in whole sign, she'd be a sixth house. She's a Capricorn, right? She's traditional. She is head of state. Capricorn's being very ambitious. She married the prince from her school. Leo rising, queendom vibes. William is in fact a Sagittarius rising Cancer sun. So he's not saying king, but maybe Catherine will be the one, maybe it will be, maybe when she comes to get the old crown on her head for good, when she becomes queen, maybe it will be Catherine who is more of the monarch in the PRC at least. Anyway, sorry, I really am not eloquent here, but you catch my drift. She's got Leo rising. She's a classic queen front, and Capricorn, traditional, classic. Moon in Cancer conjunct the North Node, so she was born on an eclipse. She was born on a full moon in Cancer, and of course, we see her all the time with her trio of children, hopefully being a really good mum. I'm sure she is, because she better be, because she's raising, so say important children. Now, interesting, I always find it nice and interesting with Princess Catherine's chart that she has Mercury and Venus in Aquarius. So, and she has Mars in Libra, which isn't the happiest Mars, but dignified Saturn there in Libra. But anyway, it kind of shows that maybe she can weather the romantic storms. Although William being a Cancer, how does he fare with that cool, candid, fresh Aquarius Venus, which is not super cuddly, is it? Anyway, I'm sure they get on just fine. Maybe, maybe not. There were rumors not so long ago that there was trouble in paradise. Anyway, she's a Leo rising. She's very classic. That's Kate Middleton. Now let's look at Vanessa Paradis. Je le taxi. Remember Vanessa Paradis? She is a spokeswoman for Chanel. She's always dressed in Chanel. Moon in Cancer. So her sun is at, I believe, is that sun at 0? I thought it was at 13. Yeah, she's a solstice baby. So she was born quite far after a full moon. Scorpio rising, just like her daughter, whose name I can't remember now, with Johnny Depp. And she has Mars rising. She has a lot of Sagittarius in her. But I never really hear her speaking. I never really hear her giving that many interviews. She is living up to that private Scorpio rising sign. Very, very private, low-key Scorpio rising. So I can't really comment too much on Vanessa Paradis, other than the fact that she became a star when she was very young. I think she was 14 when she released Je le Taxi, which is the best of her pop offering, I would say. Which I would attribute to this Venus-Neptune conjunction in Sagittarius, which is very musical. And also Sagittarius, as I've mentioned before, being a sign of youth and early fame as well. She's got Mercury and Black Moon Lilith there in Sagittarius as well. But the sun at 0 degrees with Jupiter in Capricorn as well, and the North Node as well. So can't say too much about Vanessa Paradis because I just am not qualified. I think she was very gracious when her and Johnny Depp had a breakup. I think she was pretty cool, as in, in that French way. I think she just kind of like was very dignified and graceful and gracious around the breakup. Janis Joplin. Now, this is what I mean when we say we have such a varied, you know, cross section of people who are, demonstrating this dynamic. So just like Princess Kate and Vanessa Paradis, we've got Janis Joplin, Aquarius rising, with Mercury, Venus in Aquarius. So kind of the flip side opposite to Princess Catherine. Moon in Cancer ahead of a full moon. So she was born just before a full moon with Jupiter exalted in Cancer. So a very generous, very amplified emphasis on the Cancer zodiac sign. How that comes through in her music, I don't know. She has that wonderful raspy voice. I can't say I am the most avid fan or listener to Janis Joplin because I do find her music a little bit chaotic for my liking. Like when I listen to some of her other music, I can't quite fully get into it. But she definitely has this as her solid birth time. And I would say a lot of how she dresses and appears is down to that Aquarius rising aesthetic. You know, she's a child of when was she born? She was born in 43, but she's definitely a child of the 60s. We can't say 50s. She was a child of the 60s, a young person in the 60s. So she's definitely got that boho spirit, super cool aesthetic, but died too young, of course. So I'm not going to go on any more about her. Let's move on to Blue Ivy Carter, daughter of Beyonce and Jay-Z. Now, she was born during Pluto in Capricorn. So she was actually born in 2012 when Pluto had just moved into Capricorn. Well, Pluto went into Capricorn in 2008. She's got a 7-degree Pluto there. So it's not like it had just moved in. Again, Venus in Aquarius. She's got Neptune right at the last breaths of Aquarius. And she's born ahead of the full moon in Cancer because she's got the sun at 17, moon at 1 degree as well. Now, in this chart that's Placidus, her moon is in the 11th house. But if we were to say with that Leo rising, with whole sign that she was a 12th house moon, that could be pretty interesting as well. If we say she's an 11th house moon, it still is pretty exciting to, as she's one to watch, right? Like I think that Blue Ivy Carter is definitely going to be a power player in the music and entertainment business as she grows up. I think she could be just an absolute powerhouse. Like, let's watch this space. She's still so young. But I mean, with that moon in the 11th, she could do a lot of impressive, really, really good work. Being somebody who is a influencer that takes care of artists, potentially, moon in the 11th, and also working with true industry with the sun as her chart ruler in the 6th house as well. So being of service to the industry, to the music industry as well. But who knows? Who knows if she'll go into music or fashion? She's got Jupiter up there at 0 degrees Taurus, sextile that moon, which I think is quite a nice aspect as well. So we'll have to just wait for her to grow up. I've also included the UK, which was born on a full moon. The UK was founded in 1801, January 1st. This was the timing that we have there for this birth chart, which I think is commonly used as a natal chart for the UK, for Britain. I always think it's funny how the UK looks very traditional with its clothes and appearance, which is quite Capricorn, Burberry and so on. Amazing that we're a Libra rising, though. And moon on the midheaven. We're not exactly dishing up great home cooking, are we? I mean, I know we have hot pot and fish and chips, and we can champion all the cuisine that's come from around the world and has landed on our shores, but I don't know. I think that's a bit misleading having a Cancer moon on the midheaven, plus a lot of controversy around everything with the UK. I'm not going to get into a great big long spiel about British politics, but interesting how Pluto's been trine Uranus at 1 degree 54 minutes of Libra, and how over the next decade we're going to experience Pluto through the fifth house Aquarius for the UK. And of course, we can track the transits of a country as well. So more will be revealed. That could be interesting to refer back to. Carolyn Bassett, a Pinterest favorite fashion wise, born on a full moon in Cancer, Aquarius rising like Janis Joplin. So, here again, the fascinating study of aesthetics and of the nuance. So again, Carolyn Bassett or Bassett Kennedy, you know the one. She's blonde, she's gorgeous, she wears a lot of classic outfits, and she kind of had her moment this year and last on Instagram because people were really coveting this woman's fashion. Capricorn, she really does speak to Capricorn. If you ask me, when I looked at her clothes, I was like, just classic looks, very chic, very pulled together, but has Mars, Venus rising in Aquarius. So technically, she's a very good example of somebody who espouses Aquarian vibes. So interesting. Pretty much born exactly on a full moon in Cancer. So I don't know her background. I don't even know if she has children. I don't know anything about her, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't even know which Kennedy she was married to. I just know that she has really good fashion and that she's been trending because people love her fashion. So I won't go on too much about her either. Let's go quickly because my battery is so low. Oh my God. Mary J. Blige. I love Mary. Now, we're not going to mention Puff Daddy in this little rendition, but what I will say about Mary J. Blige is she again has a Venus Neptune conjunction, just like Vanessa Paradis. She has the Venus Neptune conjunction in Sagittarius and a Sagittarius Mercury. So, whilst I would love to say she is an example of a Capricorn musician, actually, she's super duper Sagittarius. So, I love that because I love her music. I love Mary J. Blige. Eartha Kitt as well. I haven't researched Eartha Kitt's biography very much, but she has Sun Mercury in Capricorn and Moon Pluto in Cancer. Now, I believe she was involved in the war effort as well. I'm going to hurry it up because my battery is so low. But I remember when I'd previously, on a previous year, I was looking at people born with a full moon in Cancer, and I believe that might have been the takeaway that I got from Eartha Kitt as well. Then, oh my God, my battery. LL Cool J, born on a full moon in Capricorn as well. So it just goes to show, guys, you can have a very varied array of people who are born on a full moon in Capricorn. They don't all have to be dressed in tweed or be mothers and mother-like maternal figures. Of course, we've always got Venus and Mercury traveling very close to the sun, but it's no surprise if they show up in Sagittarius or Aquarius for a winning combination. With that, I'm going to wish you a very happy new year and lots of love from me entering 2026. Get in touch if you want a personal reading.